It's taking a bit of a beating in the wet there on Church Square at the moment. We'll be back with a little bit later. But of course, that's where the proceedings will start. They will end up at the Union buildings in a large police contingent has been deployed there. So Aldrin Sampear is there. Very good morning to you, Aldrin. It's a very wet capital. Just give us a quick idea. It's a bit quiet there, but it seems as if there's a strong police presence.
Well, yeah, but I guess despite the weather, despite the rain that's taking place, it's fair to say that SABC News will make sure that we bring the viewers at home an up-to-date analysis and a blow-by-blow coverage of this National Day of Action March as it takes place here in the Pretoria, in what some call the administrative capital. And it's quite interesting that this march is taking place here in the administrative capital, and the march will be ending here at the Union buildings, which of course is the doorstep of the president of the country, President Jacob Zuma. Just stepping out of shot quickly, just to give you an indication of the number of police officers who are here outside the Union buildings to ensure that the Union buildings, the buildings itself, are protected, and those who work inside the Union buildings are not obstructed by the marchers who will be making their way through here as well. And as you can see, there are barbed wires as well that are right through the Union buildings. Quite a number of police officers also stationed outside of the perimeters of the Union buildings as the marchers will be making their way here onto the lawns of the Union buildings. Actually, checking out earlier on, I saw one of the crossings that Griselda did and posted on YouTube. One of the comments that came through here there saying that, well, since all these political parties are coming together against President Jacob Zuma, why don't we have a system where you have all these parties coming together, becoming one party, and we only have two political parties like we've seen, like for instance in the United States. And quite clearly that is impossible. That will not happen considering the ideological differences of these political parties. But quite interesting for this call on President Jacob Zuma to step down. They've all come together. But what we should note as well, Eben, is that the Freedom Front Plus, for instance, they are not part of this march. And what makes this march different to the march that we saw last week, the one which has been described as the People's March, is that this time around it's supporters of political parties, although you have civil organization members who are part of this march. Actually, earlier on we met an old lady who parked her car outside the Union building saying that she's 76 years old and she will be marching from Church Square, not calling on the president to resign. However, she's making a call that the country pray for its leaders. She's making that call that the country must pray for its leaders to make sure that the leaders are humble. As this march is taking place today, we've all been emphasizing the irony around it being President Jacob Zuma's birthday, and today the celebrations will be taking place in Kliptown. Thousands of ANC members and supporters will be there, and those who support President Jacob Zuma, and one has to wonder whether those voices of those who support President Jacob Zuma will be loud enough to drown out the voices who are calling on the president to step down. The ANC Youth League, the ANC Women's League, they've thrown their weight behind President. However, though, even within the party, even within the ANC, there are those who are calling on the president to resign, including the ANC stalwarts. We've heard from the alliance partners, COSATU, as well as the SACP. The SACP, which was part of last week's march to the Union buildings with Save SA, this time around they are not part of the march that will be taking place. Whether these voices that are calling on President Jacob Zuma, whether they will succeed, is something that is probably unlikely to happen. We'll have to wait and see what happens in Parliament when the vote of no confidence is being heard against President Jacob Zuma. The opposition parties, the UDM, which has brought that motion of no confidence against the president, of course, they've applied for a postponement of that motion of confidence. Remember that it was scheduled to be heard next week on the 18th of April. But considering that the Constitutional Court has said that the Constitutional Court has set down heads of arguments to be filed by next week Friday, that would mean that that will have an impact on the vote of no confidence, which was scheduled for the 18th of April. And that's the reason why the opposition parties are calling on Baleka Mbete, the Speaker of Parliament, to postpone that vote of no confidence.
Yeah, Aldrin, before you go, just give us a quick idea. The time frames we're looking at for today's march. What time do you think the march will reach the Union buildings, and what's the proceedings then from there? Well, it's wet. It's wet out there. It's a difficult day to broadcast.